Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wa afdalu salati wa atamu taslim ala Sayyidina Muhammad Rasulih al-Kareem. Wa sahbatihi min al-abadi wa shafi al-halaki wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma faqihna fi din wa alimna ta'wil. Wa ja'alna min hayrati ummati Sayyidina Muhammadin alayhi wa salati wa atamu taslim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Can everyone hear me? I'll try speak a bit louder so that the mic stand is broke. So what I want to do, inshallah, I know we've only got like about 5-10 minutes before Maghrib, but I wanted to kick off with the hadith because then we're going to have about a 10-minute break and I might not be able to get through much. So inshallah, we'll continue. Can I just ask one of them? But yeah, just plug this in, please. So we're going to move on to start off with, obviously, the hadith. And we're on to, so what we're covering on the 40 hadith of Imam Nawawi. We're on to the fourth one. So I'll just let it load there so everyone can see it. Okay. The decree or maybe the destiny, the hadith that we're going to be briefly talking about quickly. So I'll just quickly do the narration. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. An Abi Abdul Rahman Abdullah bin Masud radiyallahu ta'ala anhu qala hadathana Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa huwa as-sadiq al-masduq inna ahdakum yajma'u halquhu fi batni ummihi 40 yawman nutfatan thumma yakunu alaqatan misla zalika ثم يكون مضغة مثل ذلك ثم يرسل إليه الملك فينفخ فيه الروح ويؤمر بأربع كلمات بكتب رزقه وأجله وعمله وشقي أو سعيد فوالله الذي لا إله غيره إن أحدكم ليعمل بعمل أهل الجنة حتى ما يكون بينه وبينها إلا الزراء فيسبق عليه الكتاب فيعمل بعمل أهل النار فيدخلها وإن أحدكم ليعمل بعمل أهل النار حتى ما يكون بينه وبينها إلا زراء فيسبق عليه الكتاب فيعمل بعمل أهل الجنة فيدخلها. رواه Bukhari and Muslim. So, quickly the translation. On the authority of Abdullah ibn Masud, may Allah be pleased with him, who said, the messenger of Allah, who was the truthful and believed. So, believe probably the best way to definite believe in that, narrated to us. Verily, each of you is brought together in form within his mother's womb for 40 days as a nutfa, a drop. Then he becomes an alaka, clot of blood, for a like period. Then a mudgha, that's morsel of flesh, for a like period. Then an angel is sent to him, who blows his soul into him, and who is commanded with 4 matters: to apportion his rizq, sustenance, his lifespan, his actions, and whether he is happy or damned. Happy or sad, obviously. I swear by the one besides whom there is no deity, that one of you will perform the actions of the people of paradise until there is but a handspan between him and it. Then what is decreed will come to pass, and he will perform the actions of the people of the hellfire, and will enter it. And verily one of you will perform the actions of the people of hell until again there is but a handspan between him and it as in hell, and it before was referred to paradise, obviously. Then what is decreed will come to pass, and he will perform the actions of the people of the paradise and will enter it. And narrated by Al-Bukhari and Muslim. So I'll leave that on there for you to read. before we kind of move on to the hadith, let's quickly talk about the narrator. If we move on to a new narrator, I'll try to give a bit of a description on them best I can. So the narrator here is Abdullah ibn Masud, and he was known as one of the muftis among the Sahaba. Very person. Was very short. Some say about 5 foot, and was very skinny legs. People used to take the mick out of him when he used to climb trees and all that. So he's got very skinny legs. And the story about when he converted, he had sheep, and he was looking after some sheep, and the Prophet ﷺ went past, and Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq was with the Prophet ﷺ, and they said to him, Prophet ﷺ said to him that, can we, take milk from one of the sheep? And he said, no, I can't, because I'm just taking care of these. These aren't even mine. They're just in my possession. I can't give you, to take the sheep. I'm not the owner. And one thing you pick up from here, where the Prophet ﷺ says that in the hadith, the best of you in times of ignorance will be the best of you in Islam. So even at that time, in ignorance, he was not a Muslim. In times of ignorance, look at the kind of standards. He said, look, there was no one else. They giving a bit of milk to the Prophet ﷺ. Obviously, he did not know he was the Prophet ﷺ, but again, giving someone, helping them out shouldn't be a problem. But no, he was strict in what they did. So again, so the Prophet ﷺ said to him, okay, is there any sheep that does not give milk? And he said, yeah. He thought, well, and what are you going to do with the sheep that doesn't give milk? The Prophet ﷺ took that sheep and actually milk from that sheep. And on seeing this miracle, that's when obviously he converted to Islam. A very learned person. The Prophet ﷺ would recite, as he would recite the Quran to Angel Jibreel twice in Ramadan, he would recite it to Abdullah ibn Masud as well. He's the founding father of the Hanafi school, so we're all Hanafi. Okay, I know you're all Hanafi. You probably don't know you're Hanafi, but you are Hanafi. And he's the founding father, so anything we kind of pick from, pretty much we get from him. So it's actually the school of, you can class it as the school of Ibn Masud, because it's one of our main narrators. So Imam Abu Hanifa narrates from Hamad, who narrates from Ibrahim Nakahi, who narrates from Alqama, who narrates from Abdullah ibn Masud, and obviously who narrates from the Prophet ﷺ. That's the kind of almost our golden chain, you can say, for the Hanafi school, and we pick up a lot of stuff from that. Okay. Send Jazib al-Tayyib down, just to make sure people aren't waiting for me to start the prayer. I just send him down. Someone's going to obviously do the azan. I haven't heard the azan unless they haven't turned the speaker on. Tell them to go down and look. They can play cricket later. Okay. So that's a bit about there's so much more I can speak about on Abdullah ibn Masud. There's so many stories that you can talk about, but then it will become quite detailed. Inshallah, as we go along in certain aspects, so when we talk about other subjects, when I have a bit of time, I'll throw them in. So moving on to the hadith. The hadith is actually 3 sections of the hadith. The first is the statement itself. Okay, I think it's gone on. The first is the statement itself. So, I mean, describing the Prophet ﷺ, giving him lofty titles for the Prophet ﷺ. Again, I'm not going to touch upon that. When we cover something like the Shemail and all that, we'll cover in detail about that. The second is actually the science of creation, and there's different variants in this. So someone who's good at science might turn and decide, oh, wait a minute, there's a bit of difference here. It should be this, it should be that. There's different variances, and obviously I'm narrating a certain variance. And some even say that, when it's mentioned about 40, it's just like a number, because it can be different. And some say for different people, actually, it's a different number. It can vary, so don't worry too much about that. And again, I'm not going to discuss about that, because that's not what I want to focus on the hadith. It's more about the third part I want to focus on, which is destiny. But Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
I tell you what, we'll take break for Maghrib. No one obviously needs to read, they can read. I'm going to put this on mute. Ali, I can't cancel it. I'll leave it recording, so don't wander in front of you, anyone that doesn't want to be seen. Just so people know the class is still going on. So we're just going to take a 10-minute break for Maghrib, and inshallah we'll be back after Maghrib. Okay, let's start again. So we're talking about the hadith, fourth hadith on destiny. And before I kind of move on to the main part, the destiny part, I just want to quickly talk about when the description that's been given as a story by Ibn Hajar around when the angel comes, and this description that's been given in the hadith, and the events that take place with the angel. So the angel, the story by Ibn Hajar says the angel takes a small morsel into his hand and says, "Oh Lord, is it a male or a female? Is it going to be happy or miserable? What's it going to do? What are the signs? And also, where will it die?" And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, go to the Lawh Mahfuz. So for those of you that don't know, Lawh Mahfuz is where everything is written. Okay. When we move on to the Aqidah module, inshallah, I'll try to throw some of those, because I've bored you guys so much with fiqh, I'll throw in some of the more interesting stuff that people enjoy as well. So the Lawh Mahfuz, and your answers will be there, for it contains all ancient knowledge. When it comes to Lawh Mahfuz, it's still limited knowledge. We're not talking about all knowledge in terms of what Allah Ta'ala has, but it's still limited knowledge. It's more stories, and it can even be changed as well. So he goes and comes back and he writes it down. So what are the four things that we talk about? So understand what we're trying to say here. We're going through the hadith there, and we're speaking about how a baby is formed. And then when the angel decides, before when the angel comes, and this is what the angel does, then he goes off to Lawh Mahfuz and gets all the information regarding this person, and then comes back. And what's the information they get? Those four things that we spoke about there. Four things. One is the sustenance risk. The other one, the lifespan, actions in terms of what they're going to do in life, and whether they're going to be happy or damned. So these are the things. These are the four main things that the angel's going to write. And some ulama say that it's written somewhere on the body. Most ulama say that it's written on the forehead. So even kids have it, when you go like this and you can see lines on the forehead. Most ulama say that's where it's written. Okay, that's why they also write that some awliya are given the knowledge by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to actually read from a person's forehead. But again, I was a bit reluctant to say something like that, because when obviously I'm giving that knowledge out to you, naturally other people are going to know that, and so many people take advantage of that. So you got to be careful about who you approach in scenarios like this. Everyone's going to claim that they know everything, and they can write your destiny and all. They can tell you what your destiny is. Best not to know, I think so, because it's better for you. Yeah, it's better for you. But yeah, that's some scholars actually say that it's on the hands. It's written on the hands, but no one knows how to read it, because you look at it. It's all unique. Everyone's is different. Everyone's is different. What do you say, Atia? But yeah, like I said, it's written somewhere on the body, but we don't know. Allah knows best, obviously. Okay, so how do we understand this? So moving on to the main part, the destiny. So a person would say, and many people had a problem with this. Many people had a problem with this, is the fact that, a person does so much in life, and then literally right at the end, it becomes a Jahannami. My teacher, so one of my teachers that, I may know the other one, when he described this, when he goes, when I was studying with my teacher, and I asked, right at the end, and that's it. Kam tamam ho gaya. The guy's got no hope. Then how does someone build upon that? Because the person would think that, well, wait a minute, what happened to all free will and all that? I don't want to go too much into destiny, okay, because you're going to end up getting confused over it. But it is like a mind-twisting topic, because a person thinks, well, wait a minute, if everything's written, then why am I even bothering? And why am I doing this? Why am I doing that? Don't think like that. So it's it's a matter of, look, a person thinks that if it's free will, then well, wait a minute, what happened then? What happened to the free will? If it's all written down, etc. There's a difference between free will and knowledge. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ultimate knowledge of everything. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is outside of the realms of time and space. So whenever we think of something, we think of it based on time and our space and our limited knowledge. That's why you can't never, when you're trying to grasp something related to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you can't think of it based on your mind. It's outside of our capacity. So there's a difference between free will and what you're going to choose. So there's, some scholars say that when they go to the Lawh Mahfuz and the angel goes to the Lawh Mahfuz, there's two options there, option A and option B, and they write down option and option B, and a person has free will of which one they're going to choose, option A, option B. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what you're going to choose. So that's the difference between knowledge and free will. You've got the free will, but Allah ta'ala knows what you're going to pick. Yeah, Allah ta'ala knows that had Hitler not died, what would have happened, how the world would have been, an alternative universe or alternative method and all that. So had you not done this and you done this, Allah knows what would have happened then, or what would have happened 10 years later. You understand? That's ultimate knowledge. That's something we can't grasp. So I won't touch upon it much, but just get an understanding of this is what we're trying to talk about. So what we say is the one action that's going to just take everything away for you, or what is it that's going to be taking everything away for you? So let's deal with that first. And most shuyukh say that it's so showing off. Which is showing off. That's what's going to take it all away from you. Because you're doing worship all your life, but then you go to hell because the worship you're doing, your actions are not for Allah Ta'ala. They're for other people. You're just showing off. Okay? You'll be thinking that you're doing good deeds all the time, but you're not. The Prophet ﷺ said about Riyah that it's like a black ant in the darkest night. You can't see it. It's that hidden. And Shaitan makes it seem like, it is me, whatever doing it. So Riyah is all about, when you're showing up, is when you like people saying good things about them. This is an important part here. The Prophet ﷺ said that do not cut your brother's throat in front of him. So Umar disallowed anyone praising anybody in front of them. Just disallowed it. It's one of the most damaging things you can do for a person. So when it comes to a child, it's probably a different, you take it differently. You praise them to give them encouragement. But when someone grown up and then praising them, that's it. It's difficult. From one to day, it's difficult. And I'm giving my own examples here, kind of thing. It's I really hate when someone praises you in front of your face. Why? Because then, and I'm giving an example myself because it makes you feel happy with yourself. And that's what really gets me angry, the fact that I've actually felt happy about myself, because ultimately we've not done really anything worth praising here. So don't praise anyone in front of their face. It's difficult. It's it's difficult to take. We're not at that level that we can just kind of push it aside. So Sayyidina Umar actually, once someone prayed someone in front of Sayyidina Umar and he said, "You've killed him." Said straight, "You've killed him." So be careful about things like that, because that's what kind of builds it upon. I know it's a bit harsh. You're thinking, well, wait a minute, come on. Can't even praise someone, but think about what you're going to be doing. Some people actually, they pray just so that someone else praises them. So you're sitting with someone and say, "Yeah, he's a nice guy." And yeah, you're really a good guy as well. You've done this, this, and this. In the sand, it's like give and take there. I'll praise you, you praise me. It's kind of a different thing. But I've probably taken too long on this, but I'll just quickly finish it off anyway. So a good deed, man came to the, just talking about some good deeds. The man came to the Prophet ﷺ and he said, "Look, the Prophet ﷺ, I've done something bad." And the Prophet ﷺ said that, "Have you got a mother?" He says, "No." "Have you got a father?" He says, "No." "You must have an aunt." He says, "Yeah, go and do something good for your aunt and then you'll be forgiven." So it's a way of us, like, you do something bad. And this is one of the biggest deletes that we use for if you've done something bad, to seek forgiveness. The route for you, if you want to seek forgiveness, is serve other human beings. So serve them, and we just don't do enough of it. We're always doing stuff for some kind of benefit. We don't do it for the sake of just doing it. Okay. I was going to actually end up having a go at everyone today, but now that I've mentioned this, I can't really. I was thinking about the attendance and people turning up. Do we really need the class or not? You know, should we just stop the class? You guys probably be surprised, but yeah, I do have a lot of things to do as well. You know, I have about 3 other classes I need to attend as well. I'm teaching twice a week, and that's my spare time. That is not outside of work. That is. Unfortunately, I got kind of 2 roles in my work as well. So people need to be, you know, do we need this class to be going ahead? You know, that's for you guys to answer the question. Because we seem to have sometimes attendance, sometimes it drops, and then, you know, it's difficult to kind of learn like that. But you know, we won't go on that too much. But yeah, it's serve people, serve other human beings. So genuinely, you want to serve them. And I think that you're doing it to gain the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, especially for, I mean, genuinely, even helping someone out, doesn't matter who they are, Muslim, non-Muslim, there shouldn't be a problem there. Especially when it comes to mosque as well, whatever you can do for mosque, you're doing it, you're not getting paid for it. You know, but Allah Ta'ala inshallah will reward it, because if your intentions are sincere and you genuinely want to do it, you're not doing it for the fact that someone's going to stand up on Jummah and start praising you, say this guy's done really well, you know, this guy's given £100. That's not our point. There are, I'm probably most against that, so standing up and announcing this person given this much, but there's benefits to it as well, because it encourages others, you know, and if it means that it encourages others, then I'm all for it. Then if that's what it's going to take to encourage them to give money, then by all means do it. So that was this. It's like serving without condition. So why did all prophets, actually there's another point I was just going to raise in it, why did all prophets come and have sheep when they were young? Because, you know, sheep, and you handle sheep, they're running all over the place, aren't they? So it prepares them, because that's how humans are. We're all over the place, and someone's shouting here about something, and someone's not happy about this, and especially when it comes to mosque, everyone has the best idea possible, and then if you haven't listened to that idea, you're not doing it properly. So it kind of prepares you for it. It helps you in that, and that's what the prophets went through to help in their lives. The Sahaba asked the Prophet ﷺ, why didn't he have kingdom like Sulaiman alayhi salam? And the Prophet ﷺ said every prophet was given one dua, and all prophets used up their dua. Prophet ﷺ said, I haven't used mine. And they said, well, what, you know, Ya Rasulullah, what about yours then? So what about you? He goes, I haven't used it, I've saved mine for Qiyamah, to save my ummah. And, you know, just these little things here, I mean, if I go into detail, the amount that the Prophet ﷺ done for his ummah, it's amazing. But yeah, even still thinking that something that was given to him for his sake, his Salasam's sake, he still saved that for his ummah. So on Qiyamah, Qiyamah Day, he's going to use it to save his ummah. Okay, so quickly, just finish off then, if you want like a good ending. The good ending, the scholars say there's 4 things that you must avoid if you want a good ending. And the first one is not to be lazy in prayer. Okay. The second one is not to drink alcohol. The third one is not to harm another believer. And the fourth one is, you know, to ensure that you fulfill the rights. Avoid not, you know, the rights of your parents. Don't upset your parents. You know, uphold their respect, and that's important. Upholding their respect. And there was another story I was going to tell about a man. Well, let's just quickly tell you because we've gone over anyway. But there was a man on his deathbed, a young man on his deathbed, and the Sahaba came to the Prophet ﷺ and says that the man, he can't say the kalima. The Prophet ﷺ, is he Muslim? He says, Ya Rasulullah, yes. So the Prophet ﷺ says, say the kalima, and he says, I can't say the kalima. It just won't come out. It just won't come out. And he says, and the Prophet ﷺ says, well, why is that? You know, see that some knew what was happening, but he says, asked him, and he goes, oh, my mother's not pleased with me because I favored my wife over my mother, and she's not pleased with me. So is she alive? Yes, call her over. And he goes, that's your son. Yes. Well, you know, you want to forgive him? No, I'm not going to forgive him. He was, you know, he didn't respect me, etc., etc., whatever it was. And the Prophet said, okay, that's fine. Told the Sahaba to get some wood and burn a fire. And said, just get the guy and throw him into the fire. And as they grabbed him, his mother rushed at him and said, what are you doing? Is this your son then? Yes, yes. Well, that's why if you're not going to forgive him, basically, that's what his outcome is going to be. And then she forgave him. So you got to respect your parents. And I think we're going through phases where it's becoming worse and worse. You know, we saw it as something at very high level, you know, but it's I don't know, it's maybe the environment we're in, especially in Western environment where a parent is almost like seen as a friend figure, and for friends, you know, you'll have your good days and then you have your bad days. That's not what it is. You've got to show your respect to your parents, you know, and in the Quran say, don't even say oof to your parents. You know what, the statement of don't say oof to your parents, it's like just don't go, don't even say to your parents, let alone the kind of stuff that we come out with. But okay, that's the other hadith. Anyone got any questions before? We have taken long. I mean, I know we had the break in between, but it was a kind of an important hadith, so I thought, I mean, all of them are important, obviously, but just spent a bit more time on this one. Any questions before we move on to the next section? No? Okay, so moving on to fiqh then. And we're going to be starting a new, but obviously we're still going over our recap, so we're starting a new module, which is the prayer module, act of prayer. Because we finished an old one. Here you go. Test for everyone. Okay, everyone see that? Write down the answers. 3, 2, 1, go. True or false? Simple as that.
Do we have to do as well?
Everyone does it.
Can I have a paper?
No. Report your own.
You said everyone does it.
Yeah, no, so you should report your paper.
I forgot it. So I could put that on.
Let me know and I'll scroll down further when you get to Actually, forgot to mention, I know people are giving money for Burma. I sent that message. Bit of confusion. People thought I was going as. I forwarded a message from one of the brothers that studies with me. Very good. So I know that genuinely everything's going to go there. And I think it's amazing. So if anyone still wants to contribute and send out the message, by the weekend is when I'm planning on giving him all the money. If they're going with a kind of group here, so I'm not sure if they're going to basically, I'm guessing it will be more like that because they're going to fly out there. He's covering all of his own costs. So none of this, all this money will be going towards the people.
It's called Gusson.
Okay, quickly, yeah? So just simple true and false. If you want to, I can chat out the questions if you guys can't read it.
Yeah.
Okay, seawater can be used to make wudu. Ghusl is to wash something in a specific manner. Third one, it is obligatory to do wudu before ghusl. Fourth one, you only remember to wash your mouth for ghusl after wearing your clothes. So you've done your ghusl, but you forgot to wash your mouth. So you put your clothes on, then you decided to wash your mouth. You must now redo your ghusl. Number 5, there are 3 obligatory acts of wudu. I see you're writing. Number 6, not washing your ears invalidates wudu. Number 7, wudu is not valid until the skin is completely wetted. And I'll be a bit, because you can give, okay, never mind. Number 8, you are okay to make wudu during a nosebleed. So you got a nosebleed, you're okay still to make wudu, that's fine, during a nosebleed. Number 9, you cannot recite Quran without wudu. Number 10, the general principle that nullifies wudu is the emergence of filth. Number 11, not making intention for wudu or tayammum invalidates the action. Number 11, you know what, actually, I should have done. is it, for those that are online. I should have done this. Sorry, my fault. Better still, you can just take a photo of it. Oh, look. I'll take a photo and I'll post it on the group. Where will we at? Number 11. Not making an intention for wudu or tayammum invalidates the action. Number 12. All skins may be purified by tanning. Number 13. You can make tayammum on grass. 14. Leather gloves can be used as hoofs to wipe over hands during wudu. 15. Wudu is invalid if performed while paint on hand. 16. Minimum period of haid is 72 hours and maximum is 360 hours.
I don't know what haid is.
17. A thuhur must be a minimum of 10 days. 18. A woman in haid can enter the Shari Masjid provided it's to gain Islamic knowledge. 19. Filth transferred immediately if both items are dry and make contact. 20. A dog is considered to be filthy. How many of you are organized? So can you remember when we went over this last time?
I remember. I remember one of them.
Because it's the same question.
Are you
So
gonna go down?
if you prepared, right, you would have got the answers.
He's taking the picture.
Hide this.
Let me just take a pictures, please.
I don't know what tuhar is.
Go in the next room. Carry on, please.
No, but we don't, how we need to know what haid and tuhar is.
Yes, haid is salah.
You know what haid is? Yes. You know what haid is?
Okay, are we done? Shall we go with the answers?
No way, I'm on 18.
We haven't got much time left, so I'm going to try to rush it.
Is that what you can? It's your.
So why haven't you been
Charles, if you just.
What's the question everyone on? Don't you mean to be good at math? How many hours are in a day?
17.
Okay.
You don't. Okay, but you don't. 24.
I said 24.
17.
I said.
Yeah. God knows you don't mind.
72.
Okay, let's go over it. Yeah.
Miss.
You're good. Test.
Have we gone through?
Answer the question.
I know all of them.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you to answer them.
Okay.
They're on the WhatsApp.
Should I give her a paper and pen?
Don't.
Alright, we got. I think we're gonna have to hurry up a bit. Yeah.
Can we mark it now?
Don't angry people. Javi can message you the answer TM.
Does it prepare?
Done.
He asked you to stand up.
Oh, that's close.
Ace.
We got a message here from one of the students online.
I didn't message. I'm getting the call.
No, I'm telling you, one of the student message.
Sorry.
I'm gonna read word for word. Tell the boys to shut up once and for all. They're so annoying.
Name.
Papa Asma.
No one even spoke for me. We're all so quiet. Honestly.
Are we done? Can we kick off? Okay, Bismillah.
It's the girls.
Okay,
talking,
keep the volume low now.
boys. I
Keep the
just
volume
sit
low.
there so they can hear us and look at them.
Question
Talking
one.
about clothes from Bengal.
Seawater can be used to make wudu. Don't forget this, guys. This is for your own knowledge here. You know how much you've grasped, how much not, how much you need to go over your notes or not. Okay, because this is important stuff. This is fiqh. Obviously, you need to know this stuff. Okay, seawater can be used to make wudu.
True.
True.
Oh, yes.
Ghusl is to wash something in a specific manner.
True.
False. That's ghusl. Ghusl is just to wash. Number 3, it is obligatory to do wudu before ghusl.
True.
No, it's sunnah.
False. Sunnah.
That's false. You only remember to wash your mouth for ghusl after wearing your clothes. You must now redo your ghusl.
False.
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 As long as you fulfill the criteria, that's fine. Doesn't matter when you do it. Once you've done it, then that's it, and that's when your ghusl is valid. There are 3 obligatory acts of wudu.
False.
False. It's 4. Not washing your ears invalidates wudu.
True.
False.
How?
You have to do that.
Masa.
Washing your ears is sunnah. What's the obligatory action?
Papa, are we minusing
Yeah.
half?
Good.
Papa, are we
What's
minusing
kiluti got to do with the ears?
All this
Ears. Okay. How much? What's the obligatory action? Calm down. If you guys settle down a bit. If you settle down a bit,
Papa, are we minusing
I'll answer the
half?
question.
They are the loudest, to be honest. There are only 4 of us here.
What's the obligatory action for wudu when it comes to masa? How much do you have to do? Quarter of the head. So the rest of it is all sunnah.
Try to poke my brain.
So it does not invalidate your wudu. Okay. Number 7.
You know, it's bad omen to have a phone call on number 7.
Number 7, wudu is not valid until the skin is completely wetted. I'll allow either one here because yes, it is the case if it's the obligatory elements in terms of your arms, your face, your feet. Actually, yeah, the answer to that is true. I'm not going to allow the false one for that. Number 8, you're okay to make wudu during a nosebleed. No, anything that stops you, that nullifies wudu, needs to stop before you can make wudu. You cannot recite Quran without wudu.
False.
False.
Oh.
You can recite Quran, you can't touch the Quran. You can recite Quran without wudu, you can't touch the Quran.
So it's only valid for
The
one.
general principle that nullifies wudu is the emergence of filth. True.
Oh, yes.
Number 11, not make, sorry?
True.
10 is true. Number 11, not making intention for wudu or tayammum invalidates the action.
False.
False. It does for tayammum, but not for wudu. So the whole statement in itself is false, obviously. Okay. Number 12, all skins may be purified by tanning.
False.
Why is it false?
Because it's tanning. I don't know. Because
You don't
tanning
even know what
makes the
tanning
skin
is.
darker.
Yeah.
Is it?
Smelly.
Okay.
Is it that way?
The answer would have been yes. There's one exception. What's the exception? Pig skin. That you can't purify it, doesn't matter what happens.
Is it false?
Every other animal skin
And purified.
can be purified by tanning. Sorry, I should have thrown in animal there, but I just put all skins. But animal skin I was referring to there. Okay.
Is it true or false?
So I'll let you guys off if you got that one wrong.
Papa, is it true or false?
False.
Oh,
Because the pig skin cannot be purified. 13, you can make the yammam on grass.
True. It's natural.
It has to be made
False.
somewhere.
False.
How?
It has to be on the surface, not drying from the surface.
Yes. Such as dust.
Okay, 14, leather gloves can be used. Check down. leather gloves can be used as hoofs to wipe over hands during wudu. So basically, the point is that if you can wipe over leather socks, you should be able to wipe over leather gloves. True or false?
False.
False. Hoofs are a dispensation by Prophet ﷺ. You can't use them as an extension analogy for something else. Okay?
That's not really question.
Okay. Wudu is invalid if performed while paint on hand.
True.
True. You have to remove the paint because it's an impenetrable product, so water needs to get to the hand. 16. Minimum period for haid is 72 hours and maximum is 360 hours.
False.
You don't even know what it is, or are you saying false?
I just want to. Is it false though?
False. Minimum is 72 hours, maximum is how many hours?
20.
How many hours is maximum? What was that? 23 hours.
240. About 240.
If minimum is 72, how come maximum is 23 hours?
240.
240 hours, 10 days. A tuhur must be a minimum of 10 days. False, 15 days. A woman in haid can enter the Sharia masjid provided it's to gain Islamic knowledge. False. Woman cannot enter the Sharia masjid regardless whatever it is. Okay, this is not classed as the Sharia masjid, don't forget, obviously. Yeah? Sharia masjid is downstairs when we do prayer. So each mosque will have a defined Sharia masjid. If they have not defined it and they've classed everything as being the Sharia masjid, they need to get their brains checked. But you know, mainly most places will have a small allocated area because then it makes it difficult for everything. Okay, number 19, filth transferred immediately if both items are dry. So if basically both items are dry and they make contact, the filth get transferred immediately. True or false?
False.
False. It only gets transferred if there's traces of filth. Time it gets transferred immediately if one of the items is wet, dripping wet. And the last one, a dog is considered to be filthy. False.
Only wet dog.
No.
Yeah, if it's wet and if it's mixed.
Only the saliva of a dog and obviously the excrement of a dog is considered to be filthy. The entire dog is not considered to be filthy. Okay, so you guys can work out whatever you got. Someone can shout out who's got the highest. Anyone got all of them right? No, you didn't.
I got the highest. I was right in every single.
No, you didn't because you got one of them wrong right in front of me.
I got 40 out of 40.
I got 12 out of 20.
Anyone got 19 right?
Me?
18?
I did 19 right.
17? 16? 15? I'm not gonna go below that now. 15.
I got 12. 12's good.
Okay, moving on then quickly then. Moving on to prayer then. Sit down, Jazib. Sit down. Bismillah. Okay, so what have we done then? We've covered types of impurity. So this module is going to talk about preparing for prayer, establishing it, perfecting it, protecting it, and correcting it. Okay, so we're going to cover all acts of prayer. Then after this, I'll cover the types of prayer as well. Okay, inshallah. So like again, this is recap. So I'm going to whiz through because you guys should already know all this. If you haven't, go back to your notes. So we've covered the types of impurity. We've talked about how you remove the impurity, which is water. We talked about how using the water to purify, which is through ghusl and wudu. We talked about the substitutes, which is tayammum and khufs. We talked about women's issues, which is hayd and nifas. So now we're ready to pray. Correct? No, because we haven't met the preconditions of prayer. Okay, so we need to cover off the precondition of prayer before we start praying, and that's what the object of this is, to cover the obligatory actions, recommended action, forbidden actions, etc. through prayer. Okay, now importance of prayer obviously is mentioned in the Quran so much time, but before we talk about that, let's just quickly cover the definition of prayer. So definition of prayer, you've got the definition linguistically is supplication, and that's the essence of prayer. When you talk about it, it's speech. Etymological means something. What was the original meaning of prayer, salah? What was the original meaning of salah before it was brought as salah by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, and the original meaning. So how did the Arabs understand when the word salah was used? They understood it to mean joints, movement of the hips. Okay, and the spiritual meaning for salah is connection, your connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And technical meaning is worshipping consisting of specified movements and recitations at specified times with a specific intention. So when we talk about the linguistic, etymological, and spiritual, we talk about speech, body, and heart. Okay, speech, the supplication, dua, the body, moving the joints, heart, connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what I've tried to do whenever we talk about these topics is come out with the definition of the Arabic word, because it helps you understand better. Once you know the meaning of word salah relates to dua, relates to movements, relates to connection with Allah Ta'ala, you'll concentrate a lot more in there. Okay? You'll concentrate a lot more in there. The whole purpose of you studying this in detail is that to increase your iman and then increase your concentration in prayer. Remember, levels increase and decrease. That's one thing you got to remember here. When you come naturally for prayer, you're not going to expect to every time you pray, you're going to be at the highest level, and you should always be looking at improving your prayer. So your prayer should be better than your last prayer. Okay, that's the minimum you should be having. But levels of people increase, decrease. Your iman increases and decreases in that. It fluctuates. Okay, it fluctuates. So you can't be really hard on yourself to say, you wake up one day and you're feeling really down. And again, I'm talking from experience here. There's so many times where you just be so down and thinking, look, so much of a bad person as it is. We could have done this, this, and this. And then other times is that you feel, okay, yeah, I've done this, I've done that. What you got to take away from both is that, look, don't beat yourself too much when you're down, and don't go so high when you're up. Always stay on the middle ground, because it's going to fluctuate, So don't be hard on yourself. That's the key here. Don't be hard on yourself. You've got a Sahaba that was asleep, and he got up and went to the Prophet ﷺ and says, I've become a true believer. Prophet ﷺ, that's a big statement. What proof have you got? Because I woke up and I could see the Arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I could see the Lawh Mahfuz. And and you got to think about, for that Sahaba, he's not going to probably always see that. The levels are going to drop. So what happens is he starts beating himself up to say, look, wait a minute, I'm really bad. I haven't reached those heights that I should have reached. And Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq said to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when I'm with you, my iman is so much high. It's at like an unbelievable level. And then when I go away from you, I'm a normal human being. And again, so this is Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq that's talking about here. The greatest human after the prophets. Okay, so it won't fluctuate. So you're going to have days that you're going to be feeling really downbeat. What you're going to have inside you, yes, you repent all the time. And you repent, because you should always be repenting, but don't be too hard on yourself, because I think, again, Shaitan will kind of take advantage of stuff like that as well. Sometimes, and you'll end up kind of leaving everything as it is. So just keep the middle ground. Don't beat yourself too much, and try to keep it consistent on whatever you do on that. So we talk about prayer in the Quran. Prayer and faith are frequently conjoined in the Quran, and prayer is the primary outward manifestation of faith. So I won't go too much into it, but there's so much that we can pick up from the Quran and the Hadith, and the prayer was a gift, don't forget, for us. And later on, what I'll talk about is when I briefly talked about last week about how the prayer for us is our miraj, our ascension, But the prayer was given as a gift, and let's treat it as a gift. Not, oh, great, I'm going to have to pray. I'm not going to have to pray. And remember what I just mentioned in the Hadith we covered today. One of the ways of having a good ending is to avoid laziness in prayer. Okay? So the first part we deal with when it comes to prayer is times. Now, Imam Malik in his Muwatta starts with actually the prayer times. A lot of the books, so we've just covered what we covered. We've covered Tahara before we've covered prayer. Why? Because you need to know how to you need to be purified, you need to be clean before you pray. But Imam Malik's view was that an action becomes obligatory when it's necessary. So when is it that wudu becomes obligatory on you? When you need to pray. And how do you know you need to pray? When the time comes in. So the first thing you need to know is when the time comes in. Only when you know when the time comes in, then you know, okay, now it's obligatory for me to pray. But for me to pray, I need to do wudu. Therefore, wudu becomes obligatory on me. So the first condition there, according to Imam Malik, was that it's the times of prayer. You need to know that. But obviously we've dealt with it a bit differently. But we'll cover the times of prayer as it is. Bismillah. So you've got there. I've got a beginning time and an ending time. And who can tell me? Because I've covered this. Who can tell me where these prayer times have come from? What event took place where the prayer times came from?
Not Jenny.
What happened then?
When the Prophet went to the heavens
Zishan?
and was by Allah.
Every prayer is a primordial prayer of each prophet.
Okay.
It's been given to them.
That's true as well. Each prayer is probably a prayer of each prophet. But I'm specifically talking about the times here. How do we know what's the start times and what the end times of prayer is? Apart from obviously, I'm talking about how did it come in? What's the hadith?
Sunrise and sunset.
Reciting.
Okay, so I'm going to quickly mention it because we're running out of time. But the angel Jibreel came after night journey and came to the Prophet ﷺ and came at Zuhr time and led the Prophet ﷺ in prayer. Okay, then Asr, Maghrib, Isha, and then Fajr. Okay, so first angel Jibreel Islam came, and as you had Zawal point, you know what, would it be best for me to cover the time? No, let me just tell the hadith first, then I'll cover the time. So the angel Jibreel came, and as your shadow was increasing, so as the sun was declining, that's when angel Jibreel led the Prophet ﷺ in prayer. And then Asr, it was when your shadow was double your length plus double plus your length. Okay, and then your Maghrib when sunset, and then Isha when twilight appeared, so when you could see the stars, and then Fajr when dawn appeared. The following day came Zohr again and led prayer when the shadow was double its length plus an object, and led Asr where about half an hour or just before when you can see the sun, before when the sun becomes, you can look into the sun as it's starting to set, but not necessarily at sunset time, half an hour before. And read Maghrib time, Isha just before dawn, and Fajr was read just before sunrise when it was bright. So what happened? And the Prophet and the angel Jibreel said, your prayers are between these times. So angel Jibreel came and prayed at the start of the prayer time on one day, and then prayed at the end of the prayer time on the other day. Maghrib was the only prayer that prayed at the same time. That's what we tend to say, rush for Maghrib prayer,
There is some, we can pray.
Yeah, I'll cover that anyway. I still want to know what that noise is. It's happening so often.
Could be a pigeon in there. Never know.
Oh well, it's probably pigeons are kind of flying into it. So those are your prayer times there. You got beginning time and ending time that I've just covered. Let's just quickly cover them in detail, and then we'll finish the lesson at that because we are going over now. Okay. So Fajr. Fajr is from true dawn, when you see the first light appearing. So everyone knows how it works. I don't want to give a science lesson, but as the sun is rising, the sun doesn't rise, obviously, the sun is the earth moving, but let's just imagine as the sun's rising, the ray of the sun hits the atmosphere and they bounce off, and it's at a point where then the rays are on the horizon. That's when true dawn is. So when you see a strip of light appearing, that's when dawn is, that's when Fajr starts. And the end time is sunrise. Okay, so if for example sunrise at the moment, it's about 6:35 Whoever's reading right at the last minute, they'll know.
No, I read not on start. As
Okay.
it started read.
6:35 is the sunrise. So if you're reading prayer and 6:35 and you haven't finished your Fajr, that Fajr is invalid. So you have to complete it before sunrise. Zohar, Zawal. So what is Zawal? Actually, Zawal isn't actually when it starts declining. But let's just, everyone uses that word, so let's use that word. When the sun is at its highest point, and then it begins to decline. So when your shadow is at its maximum length, or sorry, minimum length, and it starts to increase, that's when Zawal happens. So you give about 10 minutes either side of that, and then Zohar starts, okay? And it ends when Asr starts. And I'll just put that there because I'm going to explain a bit about Asr next. Asr obviously went end of Zohar and up to sunset. And this is an important point here. Although we're going to cover it later, the time before sunset, about 20 minutes, is a time where you should not be praying. But if you're not prayed the Asr of that day, you can pray it. It's disliked, but it's obviously more sin to miss the prayer, so you'd rather pray it. So you can pray up to sunset. But ideally, you should be praying before that time, okay? When Angel Jibreel did the prayer, stopped at least about half an hour, 20 minutes before sunset, okay? Obviously, they're not fixed time, but they give it, everything is linked with the sun. Because we're like short on time, I'm not going to go into too much detail now. But what I'll do next week, inshallah, I'll go into a bit more detail. But pretty much all the prayer times are linked with the sun. The sun action in some way possible, some way or form. So Maghrib after sunset, so when it's sunset, that's when Maghrib starts. And it stops at Isha, so when twilight, so we can see stars appearing on the horizon, that's when you know it's twilight. And Isha is starts end of Maghrib and ends the start of Fajr, which is when the light appears on the horizon. With the same time as Isha, but must be read after Isha. Because we run over, what I am going to do is I'll cover Asr and Isha in detail, or might even go over this slide again quickly. So we haven't really covered much of the prayer fiqh because we spent too much time on the other stuff, but inshallah we'll move on to next week. But again, like I said, think about, guys, the class and whether we genuinely need to continue the class. Are people benefiting from the class? That's what we really need to know. I think everyone, if I ask the question, are people benefiting from the class, everyone will say yes, but you only kind of show that by showing attendance on the class. I know I've come up with a online option, and I think it's almost been a get out clause for people. So they'll just jump onto it for 5 minutes and then say, yeah, I listened to class, or they listen to the last 5 minutes and they message me, say, yeah, it was a good class, enjoyed this part of it, which was just the last 5 minutes kind of thing. But okay, we leave it at that. Wasallallahu sayyidina Mawlana Muhammad wa barik wa sallam wa sallam alayhi subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al mursalin. Jazakallah.